And yes, I will be 70 years old tomorrow.
So I'm glad I made it this far. We're all glad the Earth made it this far. Humans make it so far,
and then they die.
which is a very difficult conundrum to face at some extended juncture of one's life. You don't want to end up like Woody Allen. And of course, he was making a caricature of neurosis. But today, we would like to explore the top level of popular science right now. And really, these things haven't changed. Men didn't just suddenly become interested in the universe. It's been ever since men first looked up into the sky, which is well worth thinking about, without the overlays of Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal and Barney and Fred Flintstone, just cavemen. No, you have to grow up sometime. So what we would like to do now is face squarely the remaining goals of science. And here we also have to be cautious. We're not talking about technology, but we will want to work in to the equation beyond what any single human being is looking for from rational logic and exploring the universe. What is humanity itself doing? And that will go to technology, because technology is the only known result of human collaboration. Everything else is miserable failure. But collaboration on technology is successful. So it's remarkable to say that technology is both miraculous and absolutely terrifyingly evil. We'll come to those points of view that a human must adopt in some sense to cope with these conundrums. But we want to do so in the correct order. One of the secrets of rational logic, it's when you realize that rational logic is not just a jumble of facts. It's a structure. Structure is one of the most advanced terms that a human being can learn. And it's endless. It could be studied by itself, just structure. For instance, first looking up into the sky, we see a circle. At the full moon, it's a perfect circle. Up in the sky. Well, that should have caused men to absolutely believe in a divine creator. It did. It was only within the past 2 or 3 generations, in the Western culture in which I was raised, in which it could be said there was a second theme that was becoming apparent in humanity. Now, it had always been there. Men are devilishly evil, cruel, unspeakably mean creatures. Also remarkably stupid. We have the longest gestation period of any creature because it extends beyond birth. A human being still cannot defend itself for the first dozen years of its life. It's one reason why we mark on some religious occasions some form of baptism. It's always at the age of 13. For a male, that's when he squirts for the first time. And for a woman, that's when she bleeds. And again, we all know that all of these functions, the function of the moon in the sky, the function of our sexual organs at maturity, all of these are absolutely indescribably miraculous. Every now and then you find a religious character who stands out, such as Yeshua or Buddha or the prophet, but actually, that's it. Just those 3. And really, 2 of them you can just cross off. The prophet, for all that I respect the prophet, peace be upon him, genuinely. I do believe that the prophet is a prophet. And in order to know what a prophet is, you would have to know what I know. So again, that's just subjective opinionating. But there was one man who was absolutely unique. There have been about 16 billion humans. There's no such thing as natural selection. The Bible is absolutely accurate in its description of the origin of man on Earth. It is obviously from extraterrestrial engineering. There is no question about that. Anybody who doubts that is simply traumatized by some trauma in their youth. A human being, and I really am speaking strictly of males, I never speak about women. in science, except when they appear, because a woman is equivalent to a man. The reason I always refer exclusively to men has nothing to do with chauvinism or preference. It's because that's the right word to use. Men, because that includes women. So all of these strange, you always have to halt after every phrase to explain yourself when you're trying to explain reality. I worked all my life with one goal in mind, to become a wise man. Now, whether I actually am a wise man or not, I don't care anymore. In my youth I cared, and that turns out to be natural. From our point of view as humans, just one of 16 billion humans, there's no such thing as probability. As Henry Miller put it so succinctly and well, either it happens or it doesn't. The universe doesn't split just because some goofy microphysicists think that they can't identify something. They throw a temper tantrum just like little fucking spoiled brats because the government pays them billions of dollars to do exactly that. And that explains a lot. So all of this is to lead into our topic today, the origin of the universe. The origin of the universe. Now, in broad stroke, just looking at that question from the point of view of the whole history of mankind, just what could we say about mankind's view of the universe? Well, that's extremely easy to answer. Nothing has changed from the beginning of time to the present moment. There is no definition of the universe. I dare you to try to come up with a definition of the universe. You can't. And I know you can't. So again, you face this whole crowd of faces of what turn out to be misguided, misinstructed, just stupid men who say, yeah, we know things about the universe. Okay, let's find out what we actually know about the universe. What do we know? It's big. That's it. That's it. Man has never left the surface of this earth, except to step on the little rock going around it. That doesn't count for anything. That's not space exploration. You can almost do that without relativity for the guidance system. Just aim and fire and go in an arc and land on it and come back. Who cares? We didn't leave anything there. There is actually a mirror that was left there so that we could do some laser experiments, which were successful. There's a reason for that. But the golf ball, or, someday we're going to bring animals to the moon, and there will be a first dog that ever took a shit on the moon. Someday. But it won't matter. It has nothing to do with why humans are on Earth or what's going on. Well, wise man, what is going on? What we're talking about here neatly divides off all superstition, all religion, no magic, no, we don't care what your gurus have said. The only thing we do in science is discover provable facts from the universe that can be correlated into understanding. There's the rub. Understanding. Now, we do have progressive understanding of the physical universe from the point of view of structure. And that's the final goal, is structure. That's why I teach exclusively geometry, because that's the only way to make progress in science, in any way. Oh, well, again, technology is a separate issue. Technology is limited to Earth. We're not engineering planets or stars. We're taking the natural resources that I'll just say the chief engineer left here, some entity. Now, the reason why we have a concept of God, now nobody likes that term. Nobody does. But scientists hate it, and they have to hate it. I hate it. I don't like the word God because it's an unscientific word. When you're going to speak rationally about the very first principle of science, the only reason there is science is exactly the same reason that there are humans and the earth and the elements and the chemicals and the temperature balance and the hydrostatic balance and hydrologic balances. All of these come from design. If that weren't true, there would be no science. So that's the very first principle that has to be mastered. Well, you don't actually even have to master it. All you have to do is be honest. So anyone who denies the existence of a mind that's everything that our mind is, but beyond it, a supermind, that would be the creator, the designer. Now, the engineers we're not too sure about, because something went wrong. Something went wrong, and the designer clearly did not intend for anything to go wrong. So I blame the engineers. But there's definitely a hierarchy of beings. The problem with saying that to at least a Western-trained person, a person with a Western education, is that they know what you're trying to do when you do that. And they will resist, they will fight you. They would fight me, so I don't talk that way. But when it comes to first principles, I'm forced to tell the truth. I'm not trying to start a fight, it's just that I know that it starts a fight every time. I like that. I enjoy a confrontation because I never lose. My opponents run away is what happens. Now that can be for two reasons. I run away from trolls because they'll argue with you even knowing they're wrong. Well, so do your physicists. Now, I am constrained to be honest. I have to be. I must tell the truth. That is the whole purpose of being a scientist. Well, now let's break that down. What is science? Well, science begins with a individual human being. Well, for instance, myself or yourself. And you are the origin of science, not your predecessors. You never stand on the shoulders of giants. You never repeat anything your goddamned professor said. And if you repeat things from books without checking for yourself, you're stupid. You're someone that we kick sand in your face. So you need to be a big boy, the one who kicks the sand. But then you don't do it, because we're not here to kick sand. They are. So you have to be able to take it. You have to be able to take a punch. The key is to become wise enough so that you're wiser than your enemies. Yeshua said that. Yeshua is my master. Just so you know who I am. I serve that one. That is the only way that I have any realistic, subjective contact with my God. When you speak of God, your own God, that's okay. You can't speak of God as if it were an objective thing. But my God, just so you know who my God is the designer who sent his son to save the earth. Now, that doesn't matter if you don't like that. It doesn't matter if you want to argue. That's because you're immature. It's because you're unwise. It's because you're brainwashed. It's because you're traumatized. Has made you stupid. But it's also true of Albert Einstein. Richard Feynman certainly was true of Paul Dirac. All the scientists today are absolutely psychotic, out of their minds. That's from trauma. A human being is not ordinarily susceptible to lies. Except then you have to say something else that we all know that seems to muddle the whole issue. I am not here to muddy the water. I'm here to clarify the water. The reason why so many people are so screwed up because you cannot escape your environment. You cannot escape your origin. That's why I began by saying we have by far the longest gestation period of any creature on Earth. First of all, 9 months in mommy's womb. When you're born, you have 5 to 14 years of absolute complete helplessness where you're programmed first by your mommy. Then if you're lucky enough to have a mommy who lives, mommy and daddy, if daddy hasn't left or is not already dead. So you see, right away things get screwed up. If you only have one parent, or one of your parents dies while you're in that formative stage, or worse, they have a fight or a divorce, or you find out that they don't get along, you're traumatized. And it will stay with you for the rest of your life. You're a victim. And that's all you are. You defend whatever the schools say or want. You defend whatever your religion says or wants. You're a product of your environment. So bar mitzvah, which is actually an ancient term that we inherited from the Hebrews. There's no such thing as bar mitzvah in the Bible. It's much, much older than the records we do have that were collected into Southwest Semitic Scripture, SWS. Southwest Semitic. That means Jewish. It's Southwest Semitic, a very tiny tribe that's never been large from their inception until now. A very small, about 2%, I believe, but I'm not sure of what. You see, the United States of the world, but only 2, I believe it's actually of white people. Although you have to be careful because originally the Jews are not white. They're Semitic. Semites are not white. Now, I gave a whole lecture series, well, a series of 2, about 2 years ago, and I would prefer to give you this information because it's critically left out of your education, both in religion and in school. Science won't touch it. In fact, science lies about your origins. You know you're from mommy and daddy, and that's why you're fucked up. Mommy and daddy were victimized. They have traumata they pass on to you. That's called being born in sin. So you probably didn't expect to get a pedagogical lecture from someone who sounds like an old pastor. But as long as you're grown up and mature, you can handle it. Any reaction you have against me is because you're fucked up. You are. So that's why I talk in this vein, is to maintain your attention span. Because I know you. Because I was one of you. I was born in America. I'm a Native American. So I know what it means to be brainwashed. Oh my God. So, to go on, we're talking about the origin of the universe, but that's ridiculous. No, we're not. No, there is no theory of the origin of the universe. None. Now, Roger Penrose is very famous. Sorry, we have the attack of the Blue Jays because the cat just went out. I gotta close the door. They will not stop while they see a cat. Oh. I love the Blue Jays, except for when they squawk at a cat, because they just won't stop and they sound like they're losing their minds. I used to feed them, and they would fly down. They learned to trust me, and they would fly down while I was putting nuts out on the table. Fly right like 2 feet away, pick one up, look at me, and fly away. They don't do that anymore. And then 2 of them made a nest, and I got to listen to their little ones just cheep. It's not very long because they're wild animals that have to gestate quickly. Well, humans actually never gestate completely in the main. Most men, it's safe to say, die retarded. They just die stupid. If they just die without ever having done anything as a human that matters at all. So you might want to ask, what does matter? Well, one thing that we're blueprinted to do is discover our origins, because that's where you're going to get your answers. In order to have any sense of purpose or even goal, as a human, you have to know where you come from. Well, you don't. You're not allowed to. it's been blocked. And nobody's sure what is the blockage. Now, I've tracked it down to an extraordinary extent. I spent the first half of my life studying religion to a depth that I don't think any other American ever has. I considered myself to be the foremost Bible scholar in the world for one reason. Because I made major discoveries. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's no different in religion than it is in science. They're exactly the same system. It's a system of indoctrination. It's a group identity system. Because as an American, you know what you are. You're someone who hates God, hates religion, probably hates some form of nigger or faggot. You're just a hateful, just defensive, really a sick person. Well, that's true in every country that's ever been. Because if you have a country, you're already fucked. Because you have a government, nobody knows where governments come from. They just appear, and once they appear, you can't get rid of them. They lead a life of their own. Well, just to give you a little inside vision that you can take or leave. I really couldn't care less because I know you won't hear what I say. You won't listen. But I'll tell you anyway because it's my job to do this. Doesn't make any difference if I'm the last man standing. But the only rational conclusion that a wise man such as myself can make about governments, just their presence on earth, Satan. It's one of God's engineers. The Bible completely backs me up on that. That's the whole reason the Bible was written. Is to let you know what's going on here so that you'll at least be able to make some decisions. Well, I'm going to give you the secret of all religion. You turn everything over to heaven. You look at it, you stay up at night, you start sleeping during the day, you organize your life so all you do is look at the stars. You get the biggest telescope you can. If you can take up residence on the far side of the moon to look through the world's most powerful telescope, that's what you do, even if it's 75% certain death. You will blast off for the stars. If anyone has a reasonable chance of getting there, you get cryogenically frozen because you want to know about the universe. But how far are you going to get? Come on. How far are you going to get? Human beings will never make it to Mars. Never. There will never be a human being that stands on Mars or even gets close to it. It's not possible. You know why? It's because the universe says no. No, you can't do that. That's not why you're here. And it never asks you about the origin of the universe. No being in their right mind talks about the origin of the universe. There is no origin to the universe. Only a satanically possessed retard, by which I mean an American, a satanically possessed retard. I don't care if you're Walt Disney petting pussies. You're still sick. You're sick. You believe you're from monkeys. You believe we're going to go to Mars and the stars. You think we know the origin of the universe? All of those are flat out demonic lies. And so the beginning of science is cutting through the bullshit of your environment. Your fellow humans have raped you to death. It's up to you to resurrect yourself somehow. You can't do it by pointing your finger at Daddy, the president, or anyone else. Putin, Trump. You're nuts, okay? The whole reason, from a social point of view, for a person like you or me, who are trying to get out of this death trap, using our minds, now you're following the will of God. You're programmed by your designer to get out of this mess. And again, I quote Yeshua. Yes, you're in the world. I'll show you what the world will do to you, and it will do it to you too, and there's no escape. You're here to be murdered. That's the reason you were born, is so Your closest friends, maybe your own family, but definitely your own nation, and in the fallback, if not your nation, some other nation, will kill you. But then even if you don't get murdered, you somehow get through it, you're just going to die of old age. So that's called a zero-sum outcome. Although I believe I'm using that in my own argument. In other words, there are no winners. There are no winners on earth. So that's why Yeshua said, be in heaven. Put your treasure in heaven. Do not put your treasure on earth. He's talking about your mind. But actually, he's not. Because Yeshua never talked about logic. He never talked about mathematics, science, rationality. He didn't come for that reason. He came to heal the earth. And he proved that he was the designated one. Of course, the designer would have had a plan for this. In order to achieve the designer's aims to have a perfect earth filled with people. That failed. Now his earth is full of... I have no word for how evil. The only reason we know about evil at all is not from the animals or plants. It's not from heaven or the sky. It's our environment, yes. Filthy, dirty, horrible hell. There is no other hell. The invention of hell is a myth. There's no fiery place of hell. But you know why people are still so attracted to it that they laugh at it and they scorn the idea? That's superstitious bullshit of the Baptists and Catholics and probably the Jews too. You know, they don't know anything. But hell, oh my God, they're completely against it. This is hell. You were born into hell. This planet is your grave. And you could say that you're alive right now. I don't see how you could prove it, except by murdering somebody. For instance, moi. Then you'd feel better, because that gets rid of the irritant. No, when you're a scientist, you gotta man up. You gotta finally face your flaws. You gotta admit you're a shithead. You gotta start listening to someone who actually does know. You're not from monkeys. You're not from mud. There's no such thing as natural selection. And to get on to our topic, there's no such thing as the origin of the universe. There's no Big Bang. There's no scale invariant bouncing universe of Sir Roger Penrose. These are just extrapolatory ideas on a mathematical, boneheaded mistake. It's all based on a misinterpretation of redshift. And I've given so many lectures on that, but I never expect you to have caught up like you're going to go back and look at them. Oh my God, he's a genius. I better go back and look and find... No, I'll tell you right now. In the 1970s, it's actually covered a little while, but after the discovery of DNA, which took about 3 decades, the first level of discovery was its double helical structure. A major breakthrough, because then we knew it's just a matter of time before we cracked the code. It took another 3 decades. It's really complex code. But what that complex code, we call it DNA, it's a locked code. So that's the end of natural selection. It simply is untrue. You should have known that it was untrue, but you were brainwashed in school to believe it must be true. I believe 99 out of 100 people that I meet, just over a period of years or decades, 99 out of 100 people still believe that natural selection is some kind of scientific breakthrough insight, that Darwin was a genius and Stephen Jay Gould is Jesus himself, and that the dinosaurs are gods and we used to worship dragons, and we just all developed from each other and we all came from amoebas and nobody knows how amino acids formed that, but it made bats, it made fish, it made birds, and it finally made humans. Well, you're stark staring mad. They got to you and you'll die an absolute fool. And the real problem with that most people are unable to face, it's not a zero-sum game, because let's say your consciousness is just extinguished after you're dead. Well then, if you're Hitler, you're home free, because you got away literally with murder. Nobody's getting away with anything. Our consciousnesses can't end. They have to go on. You know why? It's due to a use of strict rational logic, and a child can understand this, so I hope you can too. Right through your brainwashing and right through your trauma. Your traumata is the plural of that. So that you finally grow up. Maybe while listening to me, your IQ might go up. That's really what a wise man does. So I'm just like Yeshua, and I'm the next one to be murdered, because this planet does not welcome wisdom. Wisdom is unwisely spoken here. Yeshua said that too. Don't cast your pearls before swine. But since this is one day before my birthday, fuck you, I'm going to tell you the truth anyway. And I'm fucking you now, so you'll know you'd better listen. But if you think you're going to bite me, that'll be the last thought you ever have in that body. So shut the fuck up. There's no Big Bang. There's no such thing. So now you know that it's evil. It's the government that promotes that. It's the government that tells you you're from mud monkeys. It's the government that says there's no designer. Well, that's the enemy of God. Oh, it's the enemy of my God. My God says that's my enemy because Yeshua told me. The devil, called Satan, is an angel. You would call it an alien. But then you probably also read the National Enquirer. Your opinion is worthless. My opinion is not worthless. I worked for my opinion. You went to sleep for your opinion. And if you think you're going to defend your opinion to the death, this is where the buck stops. Not to me, you're not. You will always face me. Because I'm your last hope in that sense. I'm here to wake you up. I'm here to wake up a lot of people through an avenue of science that's now open to me. I worked my you-know-what off to get where I'm at now, and I never fail. And I'm not going to fail now. So when I'm dead, you can laugh. Not until. I'll punch you in the nose if you laugh. Okay? So, this is all metaphorical, you understand. But this is where the rubber hits your ass. You will never, ever give in to any idea of the origin of the universe until I tell you what it is. Because I do know. And I'm the only man alive right now who does know. It's not in the Bible. It's not in any religious text. You actually have to figure it out. It can be done, but I'm sorry, nobody has. Except one man. I did. And I even gave it a name. And I will be writing this up in my third document. The first one is devoted to geometry. The second one is devoted to atomic physics. And only after that will I turn to galactic morphology, the Panther family, including the quasar, and the 3 stages of the supermassive black hole, why we have spirals, why we have ellipticals, and then to the real hard stuff that nobody's even tried to figure out, because we're so primitive. We know that galaxies form clusters. Try to find some information about that. Wouldn't it be better to know what those are before you talk about the universe, you stupid, brainless... They're trained by the government to be liars. Your standard model particle physicists say that there are force carrier particles. They should be shot. All of them should be shot. In scientific terms, they're absolute traitors to truth. That standard model of particle physics is pure Satanism. For one reason, so that you will never see what's in front of your eyes. There are 2 particles. Now as for the universe, once you have your clusters of galaxies, is there any further structure? Yeah, but I'm the only one who will ever tell you what it is, and it's so profound and it's so amazing that it may be the only thing you need to hear, and you'll study that for the rest of your life. You would literally go to heaven. So that when you die, it's not over. You're going to keep going on the same trajectory that you died with. Don't try to make a goddamn Ouija board out of my words either. That's how it really is. You want to go to heaven? Start now. You want to go to hell? Keep up what you're doing. So that's why we have a second subsystem that's non-emotional. Has nothing to do with, I will say, everything below love. Yeshua came to preach love and the right way to please your Creator so you can complete yourself that way. Because that's by far the most important thing you need to do. You have to be harmless or you're going to hell, not heaven. In other words, you're staying here. Probably just dead and unconscious forever. You got your wish. You're a monkey. Well, now you're a piece of dirt. You want to go to heaven? Let's find out if you do. That's what heaven would say. If I were in heaven looking down and people are going, I wish I could go to heaven. Well, I'd be looking down, show me. Show me you want to come up here. Well, you can right now because you're not only in hell, because hell is superpositional with heaven. Heaven is in the middle of hell. You're in it. You're in hell, which is in heaven. Which one do you want? Do you want to be a monkey and come from amoebas and dirt like your satanic teachers have taught you? Or do you want to be a real man and grow up and be happy and useful to help others? Are you just going to be another shit daddy because your daddy was shit and now you're shit just like your daddy? Well, that ends in hell. Your daddy's in hell. You're going to follow him too unless you turn on your second subsystem and use it. Have you ever looked up and seen the moon? It's a circle. What do you think of that? I already know. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be so ashamed you should be crying your eyes out right now because I just told you that the moon is a circle. Well, that directly tells you that there's a designer who created you. You can't explain that circle any other way, except that there was a design for it. You say anything else, you talk back to me in any way, you flunk, and you're going to hell. So let's talk about the origin of the universe. When talking about origins of any kind, the major part of the lesson that you're not stupid, you were made to pretend to be stupid by your government. Through your family, friends, society, and nation. Yes, it's never changed. Your entire society and national structure is based on murder and theft. Doesn't that bother you? Well, when you look up and see a perfect circle in the sky at night, doesn't that give you the opposite feeling? That's why Yeshua said, the treasure in the open field that nobody's ever discovered. I discovered what Jesus was talking about. You go out into an open field, there is no treasure, darling. So it's one of the greatest koans or jokes ever told. The treasure in the open field. Well, if you're serious and you believe the Master, you'll go out to that open field and you'll look for the treasure. You won't find it, but you won't give up because you believe. And then, when you're ready to cry, when you're ready to commit suicide, you're just going to take up the call to be a cat burglar, a bicycle thief. You're just going to be a broker, a politician, start your own fucking religion, write a book, fleece the public, and then die an ignoramus. You keep looking in that field for the treasure. And you realize you're not going to find it and the sun's going down. And you only have that day. We'll just set it up that way. So and now you're going to die of grief and sadness and horror. Because Jesus must have lied to you. But then the sun goes down, it starts to get cold. You've cried yourself half to sleep. You just want to die. You're so sad. I don't know what to do. There's no treasure. And you doze off for a couple hours, and you wake up a little chilled, but you brought your sweater, so you put it on. You just feel sad, but at least you got some sleep. Then you look up, and there's the full moon, a perfect circle in the sky. That is enlightenment. If you're destined for heaven, that will turn you. I'm here to tell you, there's a million things that can turn you to heaven and save your life. A million aspects of science. A million aspects of reality. Every day, all around you. How did those birds get into the sky? Why do they sing? Why is it delightful? Why are the plants green, which makes us happy? Why is the water so useful? You have to get real, darling, or you're going to hell. Okay? So now let's talk about the origin of the universe, since I claim to be the only man who knows that. And now I think you see why there has to be a preamble. I can't just come out and say what it is, because you would kill me. You would kill me in your mind. You'd walk away. You'd make fun of me. You'd call me a name. You'd say I'm not a scientist, I'm a goofball. So that's why Yeshua said, they're gonna watch what they do to me. Watch what they do to me, an innocent person and the healer of the earth. No, you're a know-it-all. You're a know-it-all. You upset commerce. You're misguiding the youth. You're a threat. You're a monster because you don't say what we do. I'm sorry, you don't say what we told you to think. Well, that implies that you won't do what we do when we tell you to kill. Oh, governments have learned over the millennia exactly how to handle a man like Yeshua, Galileo, or me. That doesn't stop us. We do it anyway, knowing you're going to hate us, knowing it'll ruin our reputation with you. And 99 out of 100, if not more than that, are just as deluded as you are, just got a little glimpse into reality. Nope. I got it full face, full bore. I saw the whole thing. And I saw it by the age of 17, and I've never let go. So for 53 years, I've been practicing the will of heaven. Now that has to be interpreted in my own life. I'm not pushing that off. Oh, I would not wish my life on you. But I navigated it, and I know now that I got help. Because it was blueprinted to happen the way it happened. It did not happen any other way. Either it happens, or it doesn't. That is a partial solution to the quantum paradox, by the way. The universe doesn't split just for you, you idiot. No, the universe does not split. There's nothing outside the universe. You see how ridiculous these things actually are. Really, you know the origin of the universe. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. How do you know? I had to go through this, so did you. How did they try to convince you that they know? Who's they, by the way? Anybody who's getting paid by the government. You can check. There are no exceptions. The ones who promote the Big Bang are the ones who are already being paid by the industry to say that. They can't break rank. They'd be killed, virtually. They'd be drummed out. Oh, it's happened. It's happened more times than you or I will ever know about. But I can cite two men who were drummed out right from the very top because they wouldn't go along with the Big Bang. Fritz Zwicky and Halton Arp. You can look it up. It's documented. It's horrifying. Horrifying. But those are just the two most famous examples from my point of view. There have been thousands, if not tens of thousands, of men who are just honestly seeking the truth, just butchered, usually in the educational system. Because you won't graduate if you can't prove that you know that you're from monkeys. Because the government said so. 200 years ago, nobody taught that because it's stupid. It's still just as stupid as it was 200 years ago. No, you come from an engineering team sent by the chief designer. Some men call him God, some men call him by other names. I say he has a billion names. The Islam people agree with me, so I'm Islam. I trust the Prophet. I believe everything he said. I believe the Islam people are perfect. I think God loves them. Well, now he has to have children. He's a father. So he kicked out the stupid-ass children, the murderers, and he's accepted the Islam nations. That's why Israel is attacking. That's why the United States is doing it. Guess who runs the United States? The engineer who defected from the team. The guy right above Satan is the designer. That's the first book in the Bible. It's called Hanoch. Hanoch. You know him as Enoch. He's quoted in the book of Jude. He's quoted in other places too. Why isn't it in the Bible? Because the Bible belongs to... They erased the book of Hanoch because it identifies who they really love. Yeah, not the creator, not the designer. They were turned. So were you. And this is Anagalactic 50 minutes. We now can close before an hour with my definition of the origin of the universe. There is something like a Big Bang in the sense that there had to be an origin of some kind. But to call it the Big Bang is the sign of a retard who's been brainwashed. So you don't want to say that. So why would I say it at all? Because it's the only idea of an origin that any man has ever come up with. It has to be a point. It's actually a zero. It's actually a singularity. It's actually a bouncing inside-out universe, which is what Sir Roger Penrose said to get rid of the Big Bang. Well, if you don't know anything about the history of Sir Roger Penrose's thought, you're really missing out, because he attended a class by Dennis Sciama. And if you don't know who Dennis Sciama is, it's actually Sciama, Dennis Sciama. And Dennis Sciama sided with Fred Hoyle, Bondi, I forget his first name. Herman Bondi, is that right? Fred Hoyle, and a couple of other big names. Narlikar, even ARP was on board for a while. The steady state theory to defeat the Big Bang. Well, the Big Bang won and the steady state was defeated. Well, Sir Roger Penrose sat in on Sciama's class, and Penrose is on record just recently, in fact within the past couple of months, as saying, although I've heard him say it before, that he respects Dennis Sciama so highly that words can't describe it, because Dennis Sciama sided with Sir Fred Hoyle, who fucked himself out of a Nobel Prize, but Dennis realized after the discovery of the cosmic microwave background radiation, he too was persuaded that the Big Bang had to be true and steady state was wrong. And Sir Roger Penrose saw him publicly change his mind, which could have been the end of his career. But in this case, he was changing from the wrong side to the good side, from the point of view of the government scientist group. So Dennis turned the right way, and so Sir Roger, who is one of my heroes, admired Dennis, who thought of the steady state theory, but then changed to the Big Bang. What's the difference? Here's the difference according to Sir Roger Penrose. The steady state theory was right after all. It's just that there's no creation of matter. Well, that's actually the Big Bang. So everyone is wrong. Sir Roger is wrong. Sir Fred Hoyle was wrong. Dennis Sciama was wrong. Einstein was wrong. The only one who wasn't wrong was Hubble, ARP, and, well, ARP compromised himself, but Hubble and Zwicky, the two men who piloted the greatest telescopes ever built by man. The Palomar telescope. Both Fritz Zwicky And before him, the lucky one, Major Edwin the Powell Major Hubble. I think I said that wrong. Major Edwin Powell the Major Hubble. He never believed in the Big Bang. Never ever caved it. And everyone, after he died, everyone said, well, who's everyone? Satan.
The government.
Or the Jews. It doesn't matter which, they're all the same. It's whatever is killing everybody. Well, science is killing everybody. It's killed you. I'm here to resurrect you. What is the real origin of the universe? It's not a Big Bang. It's not bouncing. But why do we have these two ideas? Is because one is a point origin and the other one is cyclic. When you put those together, you're forced down a path of logic, which if you're smart enough and diligent enough and follow the rules, you will figure out the origin of the universe. But I have to be honest with you, I can't tell you. It's too dangerous for you or for me. But what you should do as a rational scientist is deny any idea of an origin, because you have none. The first rule of becoming a scientist, you have to be ruthlessly honest. And the hardest part is being ruthlessly honest with yourself. That you face your own superstitions, your own prejudices. Face them squarely, ever willing to change if further facts show that you were incorrect. But you commit, you keep going with logic, refusing your emotional reactions. So let's test you. What's life after death? You have to figure that out for yourself, but I'll give you a hint. It's a dichotomy. And logic will tell you the answer. It's not in the Bible. Scientists don't talk about that. Both systems, you're either on the bus or off the bus. You're either going to be rigorously logical at your own cost. You pay the price. Don't blame it on someone else. I don't. It's my job to point out the flaws. So here's the origin of the universe. So what's the true origin of the universe? I'll tell you. It's called the univex event. Univex is a term of my own coining, and it is a proper word once you know what it means. Univex has the word uni in it. So it's not cyclic. So why do I say then that the cyclic universe of Sir Roger Penrose is equally good? It's equally as good as the so-called Big Bang. Why? Because they both account for cosmological expansion, which is the mote in the eye of science right now. It's because these jackasses have convinced themselves that redshift proves that the universe is expanding. I don't even know whether to laugh or cry. That's a saying from Chinese. It's so stupid. If the French say, in some parts of France, they'll do this. That means that's so stupid. That means that's so preposterous. It makes my teeth hurt. And we stumble over ourselves trying to come up with, that is the stupidest. That's the dumbest. But actually it's not. Natural selection is the dumbest one. But they're almost a tie. Either one is just, what are you, a megalomaniac devil? What the hell? You have no idea what you're talking about. You can't even define the universe. Well, if you could, you would know its origin. Because the origin of the universe is bound to the quantum paradox. That's what I solved, and in so doing, solved the cosmological paradox. That makes me the smartest scientist who's ever lived, by definition. Now, you know I'm just posturing to get attention, but that's the origin of the universe. It's the atom. The atom defines the origin of the universe in the atomic system. The universe was invested with a force system, which then forced out contraspace. And the universe is stable and eternal.